All right, let's take a look at our learning walk. So this is a piece of how we're collecting information to think about where's our campus completely at this point of time across grade levels. And so learning walks are really powerful because they allow us to take a pulse on current reality to celebrate the growth. In fact, sometimes I call these celebration walks because I think it's less intimidating. I know that people call them like instructional rounds and things like that. I don't love that verbiage because it just feels like I'm going to catch you or judgmental. In fact, when I do these with teachers, I'm like, we are only trying to find all of the good happening in our campus. Let's just name all of the good. And then we collaborate around all that good. So I really try to avoid any type of judgment or, criticism towards our colleagues. And it also helps us develop a shared vision. So when we're going around our campus, we can see, oh, wow, we're like really aligned on this. Or, oh, hey, they're doing this really cool thing that I could do. Or, wow, they're using this tool. I can think about the layer that I can add now as the grade up or the grade down. So that would help us promote alignment. So how do we do this? Essentially, we establish some look for. So we think about like, what are we going to expect to see? What are we looking through? What do we think the walls are going to show us? What do we think the kids are going to tell us? How do we think the classroom should look? And so I really don't use that word should very much as like, what do we expect? What do you anticipate seeing out there? So the way I start my learning walks with groups of teachers is asking them, what do we hope to be most contagious in our school? And this last walk I did actually last week, someone said, I really want like joy of reading to be contagious. And I was like, okay, let's start there. What does that look like around our classroom? So they said things like students reading independently, classroom libraries full of books, book boxes. They named all of these pieces. And so when we went around, we just looked through that lens of enjoyment and engagement. And we didn't watch the teacher teaching, we watched the independent work. So we went in specifically during independent reading. So it wasn't about the teacher, it was about the student learning. And then the teachers filled out just, I notice, I wonder charts. And so that kind of goes into this lens or this second step of choosing a lens is thinking about what are we looking for? We can't look for everything. So sometimes we can divide and conquer, but I feel like the more authentic we can make it, where we're just spending time in classrooms, the better. So lingering in classrooms, I would encourage you to stay in classrooms 20 to 30 minutes if possible. During that independent reading time, spend time talking to kids about their reading. What are you reading? How do you choose a book? Show me the procedures for checking out a book in your classroom. What do you do when you're responding to a book? I'm so sorry. My daughter is sitting next to me trying to show me a panda bear. Yeah, a panda bear. A panda. Look at the student notebooks to see what the students are doing. Look at their book boxes to see the types of books. We were even looking at teachers at this campus had bags for students that were like those mesh, the hardcore bags you can buy in like a set of 30 on Amazon. And there were like different tools in there for their book shopping and different tools for their responses to reading. And so just look through all of these pieces to figure out what is happening. And then take notes. I like the format of what do you notice, what do you wonder? And I just do a T chart because I feel like when we do something any more than that, we get so focused on the one thing and answering the questions that we miss out on things that are happening around us. Yeah. And then think through the reflection question of what do you want to replicate across the campus? So I guide teachers to reflect on what they notice and what they wonder at the end of every classroom. So as we walk into the hallways, we take in the hallway, we talk about what we noticed in the classroom, we talk about some of the questions we had, and then we think about like how this fit with the other classrooms we saw. And it's important to notice that I'm not taking them, like I'm strategic about the classrooms we're observing. And so the first thing is they are volunteers. The classrooms are volunteers. And they're also teachers that are, have some strong models for us to look at. So we don't want to go to a classroom that I know is struggling because that's only going to make the teacher feel worse about their instruction. And I don't want to put any divide across a campus. I want them all to be united towards the same goal. So then the next step is to identify some trends. So what are we celebrating? What changes do we want to make? What's going to make the biggest difference for our campus? And I keep using that word incremental changes across the semester because it's not about some big overhaul. We don't need to overhaul everything. We just need to make one tiny change at a time, set those goals, and continually press forward. So for example, kindergarten decided, we've been using word walls and we don't see our students using them at this point of the year, but what about sound walls? And there was one teacher that had some sound walls up because she took it from the reading academies. I apologize. My daughter is home with me today and decided to make a cameo in our video. So when we're thinking about, So we're thinking about what's going to make the biggest change, using examples from our school to have that as the touchstone of what exactly do we want this to look like. Oh, we wanted to look like, so-and-so's classroom where her students were, filling up an anchor chart with all the books they read. And it was more about their accomplishment than ours as a teacher. So what are your next steps? How do you get started with this? Well, the first thing is to spend time walking the building. So I really love having people walk the building with me because I think that it's just more authentic and that conversation can guide deeper thinking. Plus, if you have teachers from those grade levels, it can provide us some insight into what you're seeing. For example, someone's like, oh gosh, we've been really trying to hold students accountable for their reading during independent reading. That's why we've started this, strategy of the sticky notes. And so it kind of gives some information and background. Finally, make sure you thank each teacher. So you can do this by a thank you card at the end of the day, or you can leave a sticky note on their door, really celebrating the things that you appreciated, but making sure that this is not about I gotcha, but I am celebrating you because you are helping our campus grow and learn.